welcome back after a long time. Today you are going to learn something new coming straight from my elbow library. It is the new way of castling shot. I'm already excited for what I'm about to show you guys, and I urge you to watch this video up to the end. We're going to look at 4 different gambits where I'm going to show you our new way of castling, and of course I'm going to feature in a lot of traps, so be on your toes. Let's start with the King's Gambit. So this is where you begin with pawn to e4, then black plays e5, then instead of knight f3 you go pawn to f4 right away, allowing black to take, because what else can they do against the King's Gambit? I mean, the move I recommend in this particular video is bishop c4. I know knight to f3 is something that you can also try, but in this particular video we are looking at bishop c4, which attracts queen h4 by black, as you can see in the legions database, because black thinks it's gonna win your rook, maybe after something like pawn to g3 and takes. But that's not what you are up to. So this is why you surprise your opponent by castling your king this way. Now guys, I should mention to say that your king on f1 is the safest king in the world right now. Nobody can reach your king on f1. Your king can never be attacked by any of your opponent's pieces. So you need to understand that. They normally play bishop c5, the top played move in the legions database, wanting to checkmate so easily, but you can simply go pawn to d4. I don't even know why people play bishop c5, by the way, because that runs into pawn to d4. You don't want to develop your bishop or your bigger piece where it can easily be attacked. So they are forced to play bishop b6 again, which is the top played move, and you have a choice to go knight c3 if you want, or the move that I'm going to recommend in this video, knight to f3, because that comes with an attack. Remember, the more you keep on attacking your opponent, the more you increase their chances to blunder. That's how chess works. Just keep on attacking even if you don't know what you're doing exactly. They are going to blunder. I swear upon my stomach. Queen f6 is what they play. Then you go knight c3, intending to go knight d5. So they play pawn to c6. And this is when you go pawn to e5. You can see how safe your king still is on f1. So this is a great square for your king, especially if you still want to keep your king's rook along the h file, even with black pieces, by the way. They go queen f5. Now, since the queen is so exposed, you can, play a few moves to trouble it a little bit. Queen e6, you go knight e4. By the way, you can still take the pawn on f4 anytime, but this comes with the threat of planting your knight on d6, maybe for good, which is better for you and not for your opponent. They may play something like bishop c7, trying to avoid this, but you have all sorts of moves. For example, bishop takes f4, and next you're going to play knight g5 if you want, or king f2 and bring your h rook on the center of the board. Spoiler alert, you're not mating anytime soon unless black blunders something, so you just need to be putting your pieces on their most potential squares. For example, your f knight can sit on g5 someday, and maybe your e knight can sit on c5, just limiting black's movements. They are going to blunder. That's the word for today's lesson. So the whole purpose of playing king f1 is to allow quick development of your other pieces. But one may ask, hey Casper, what if black doesn't play bishop c5? I mean, after we play king f1, back on move 4, for example, they may play pawn to d6. But the whole idea is that your king is still safe. There is no way they can reach your king. You just continue developing normally. Remember, you just want to put your pieces on their most active squares. Once their queen moves, you go knight c3, wanting to go knight d5 again, which is why they play c6, stopping that. But hey, you have pawn to d4, a developing move, and at the same time you are paving way for your dark squared bishop attacking the lonely pawn on f4, which calls for pawn to g5, by the way. This is what black likes doing against the King's Gambit. Black players like holding on to their f pawn with the g5 pawn, but whenever you see this, just remember that g5 goes together with h4, because if g4 comes, you have knight g5, and again knight to h6 is what everybody plays on lichess in an effort to defend their f7 pawn together with the queen. But you have a couple of choices that you can make. For example, bishop takes f4 is not much of a stretch, but speaking of great players always come up with better initiatives, better plans. For example, you would see a person like Levy in this position playing something like knight e2. That's his strategy because he wants to take the f pawn with his knight. For example, if black tries to attack Levy's knight on g5, Levy would take on f4 with his knight, hence trapping black's queen on h5. There's no need of you memorizing these moves. All you need to do is to start practicing tactics and little chess puzzles, and I can assure you to say your eyeballs will be open and you'll be able to find these kinds of combinations. Anyway, let's look at another opening where you can implement this same idea of castling your king on f1. So we see this same idea in the Traxler Counter-Gambit, where we begin with e4, then black responds with e5, and after knight to f3 they go knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, allowing us to go for the knight attack, targeting the weak f7 pawn. And instead of playing pawn to d5, which may allow the fried lever attack to happen, black plays bishop c5. This is a very deadly gambit, guys. And as white, you need to know exactly what you are doing. For example, if you blindly take on f7 with your knight, which looks attractive, because you're attacking the queen and the rook, black can just take your f2 pawn with check, and if you foolishly take on f2 again, they can go knight takes e4 check. This is all theory, ladies and gentlemen. If you go king g1, they don't even have to worry about their rook because they have queen h4 intending to mate on f2, and if you play something like queen f3 or g3, for example, black can just sacrifice his knight, and there's just so much that black can do in this Traxler Counter-Gambit line. You can see by the stats in the Leech's database that black wins almost all the time. Look at these. It's not about how many pieces you have, it's about how many pieces are in the game. For example, black can play bishop g4 in the near future, knight d4 is on the plate, but first of all, they have to play something like rook f8, removing their rook from danger and also pinning the knight to the king. This is just too bad for black. So to avoid the Traxler Counter-Gambit, for example, after you take on f7 with your knight and then they take with their bishop on f2 with check, my advice is don't take on f2. You better castle your king this way once again, and I'm using the word castle or castling so that you don't forget. This is not castling, it's just a move, king f1, that's all. Once again, your king is the safest piece. So you will see them playing queen e7 because their queen was under attack like for real, and this is when you can just laugh at them and take that poor rook. If they take on e4, worse off, you can even go queen h5 check and the game is almost over. For example, if they go king f8, there's a beautiful combination that I would love you guys to find. Before I show you in 4 seconds, the time starts now. I hope you found this move. Spoiler, here we go. The move is knight g6 check, which double attacks the king and the queen. Knight g6 is check, by the way. So with this move, you are assured of winning the free queen and the game. For example, if black takes your knight, that will be mate in one because black cannot escape from Sobibo. There's no way out. So against the Traxler Gambit, guys, the secret is just to hide your king on f1. Once again, that's a new way of castling. Let's look at something else that black can do. Another line where we can see this same idea of putting your king to safety on f1 is in the Evans Gambit. Beginning with a move pawn to e4 where black plays e5 obviously, then you go knight to f3, they play knight c6, and then you go bishop c4, and after bishop c5 you simply go pawn to b4. By the way, to be a good player you need to learn how to make strategies or to make plans right when the game starts. So in this position, you know you are not interested to castle short, you know your plans already. You just want to put your king on f1 and continue attacking on the king side, but black doesn't know that. Anyways, after black's bishop c5, you just go b4, that's the Evans Gambit. Black normally takes, after which you go pawn to c3. And now here the move that I'm interested in is bishop c5, the top played move, especially among us beginners and intermediate level players. Here you just continue with d4, they will obviously take, and then you take back. And it is in this position where you will see everybody going bishop b4 check. They expect you to block this check with either the knight or the bishop, but you can simply surprise them once again by castling your king this way, putting it on f1, and all your problems once again are over. Your king is the safest piece in the world. Once again, in this position, the top played move is pawn to d6, which is even a blunder, and your opponents won't know because they haven't subscribed to our channel. They don't follow my tutorials, which you guys do. So that's another purpose of playing king f1, is to give black one more chance to blunder, like pawn to d6. So you can just go pawn to d5, for example, and black is dead. For example, if they play knight e5, the top played move, you can just take that free knight. If they say it's not free, well, take the free bishop. Queen f4 check wins the dark squad bishop instantly. And I should mention to say I win most of my games like this against titled players and international masters. I mean, records are there. So this is another example that demonstrates how effective king f1 can be when you have planned for it. Remember, the key is to prepare for it in advance in the opening stage. The last gambit where this idea can be implemented is in the Benko Gambit. So the Benko Gambit arises from the queen's pawn game, where black plays pawn to c5 instead of pawn to d5. This is a great defense, very common at master level or as you climb up the ladder. So you just go d5 yourself. You're going to see most of your prepared opponents playing knight to f6, after which you go pawn to c4, very common stuff. And if they go pawn to d6, or something like pawn to a5, or I don't know, then it's possible they are just playing the normal Benoni defense. But if they play pawn to b5 immediately, this transposes into the Benko Gambit, and you need to know what to do against this. Theory says just take that free pawn, and of course they are going to try and play this in the wing gambit style, offering you to take the second pawn, after which they take with their bishop. What black is saying is that now my light squad bishop will stop you from castling short forever and ever, but you don't just give a damn. I mean, you can go knight to c3, that's theory. And if they play d6, the best you can do according to theory, once again, is to go pawn to e4, allowing black to take your light squad bishop and make you lose the right to castle. That's okay. So you can see, once again, king f1 comes into picture, and it's here where they play pawn to g6. And the best you can do is to go pawn to g3. You copy them for the time being. They fianchetto their bishop, you fianchetto your king, and there's no way for black to attack your king right here. These are certain things that separate you from beginners. Once you understand that castling short is not always the solution to everything, sometimes moves like king f1, like I said, just put you in front of the game. You still want to have your rook on h1 so that you can support the advancement of your h-pawn in the near future. After the castle short, you're going to play knight e2 and continue playing as highlighted on the board. So this is pretty much everything you needed to know for the time being regarding the importance of king f1. The key takeaway is that you don't always have to be bothered to castle short. Anyway, make sure to check out my courses at www.caspurchase.com. You can now purchase my courses even with your PayPal accounts and other cards that were previously not supported on my site. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if at all you haven't already. Until next time, bye bye.